Thanks for listening to the Clive Barker Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the imagination of Clive Barker. We hope you've subscribed and rated us. In this episode 188, Jose and Ryan, that's me, we discuss all the latest news from the Reef, including a Halloween mask, the new Candyman release, a Books of Blood TV show, and the latest on the novel formerly known as Scarebaby. This episode is brought to you by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination shop is dedicated to benefiting the Arts and Medicine program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. Up to 50% of the proceeds will support the program, where artist Don Bertram volunteers monthly. So please join us in donating to the program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. There's a link in the show notes and on the main website at clivebarkercast.com that will take you where you need to go to get one of his prints or art books and help out this wonderful program. Okay, well, thanks for listening to the Clive Barker Podcast. Here we are again, another news episode. This is episode 188, and I'm Ryan.
And I'm Joe. So how are you guys doing today?
Hey. And just
some interesting stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, a quick note. I have somebody here working on our bathroom because we had to replace the tub surround and tear the walls out. Mm-hmm. And so he doesn't know that I'm doing this podcast. He might come in and ask me questions. We'll see.
Okay, I'm just cracked open not cracked open. I just brewed a fresh pot of coffee, and I may be sipping from my coffee as well.
Okay.
So.
All right. They've been warned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I guess first of all, there was an Uncle Frank mask that got made by, who is this company?
Cellar Door Effects.
Yeah, and Rob said he was thinking of buying one of these.
Yeah, that's
it's a pretty gruesome looking mask.
It's for Halloween, I guess.
Yeah.
The price is $120. Their website is cellardooreffects.storenvy.com.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long, you guys got to go and check out the article that Rob did for it.
Yeah,
but
it's the show notes will have the link to the blog post, which will have the link to the store, so you can kind of trace your way back to it. It looks interesting. It seems kind of stiff. Like maybe you can't move the mouth. I have no idea though.
Anatomically, it looks a little wonky, especially on the cheekbones. They have these like ridges going down the cheekbones toward the lips, and I'm not sure if that's actually muscles that exist. But anyway, of course, this is just a mask, so Halloween mask. So, but it says here, description: full head latex mask. Please note, our full head masks are tighter fitting for a more realistic look. They're designed for a 24-inch diameter head or smaller. If you have a larger sized head or face, please go with a half mask so it will fit proper. So, they say they have custom paint schemes available at no extra charge, and they can customize them for you. So basically, you can ask them to customize the custom mask even more. And buyer beware, they do not offer refunds or exchanges. So make sure it's something you really want before you buy it.
It sounds claustrophobic. I don't know. I mean, just having that thing like... if you have to pull it really hard onto your head. Yeah,
you have to measure your head to see if it's 24 inches. Of course, if you're the guy from Hey Arnold, you probably can't use this mask.
That's a weird reference.
Or Stewie Griffin.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, his head is like a football, isn't it?
Right, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, the website is interesting. They have all sorts of other masks with famous characters. They have the Joker and they have Michael Myers. They have the Nun from that I don't know what movie series that is. What movie series has that nun with like the black eyes and the black mouth? I forgot.
I don't know.
Sinister, whatever. I don't know.
We miss you, Rob. Rob's our expert on horror movies.
Yep, for sure, sure.
And Rob hasn't left exactly. He's just gotten busy lately, so he may not be in some of our upcoming episodes.
Right. So we have all sorts of masks here at Cellar Door Effects, and weird because they're cellardooreffects.storenvy.com, but then they have their subtitle for their website is Cellar Door Effects filthmirror.com, and I guess they changed their website recently. I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, so that's the custom Uncle Frank mask, and if you live around the North Carolina area and you see a guy wearing this on Halloween, it might just be Rob.
And yeah, right. Say Happy
Hopefully.
Halloween.
Yeah.
If you see him. And Clive Barker Archive store is having a sale on their art notebooks. So each one individually is $4, or you can get a bundle of $30, and then of course add in shipping, which it's from the UK. So if you're in America, the shipping will be, substantial, but it's worth it. You can't get these anywhere else, and right now this is also the only Clive Barker store there is.
Right. So I think that they made up to date about 9 different notebooks. One of them has a Terry Cat. The other one has what's called the Three Witches. They're like three very large gentlemen with very large, called the Stormwalker's Approach. Has like a giant fire triangle. The
Stormwalker was from Aberrat 3, I think.
There you go.
Legs of Lightning.
Oh, I see. You have another notebook that's a child with a light bulb cranium. It's kind of a cool little character. You have the lightning tree, of course. Is that also from Aberrat 3?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's a big painting that looks like a cloud, but it also looks like a tree, and it's shooting lightning onto the floor. You have another one called Beast of Beasts, The Needle Tower, The Tree of Faces, and Malingo's Family, which is kind of my favorite.
Oh, that's
Malingo's
cool.
Family has Malingo and his mother, I think.
They're Geshrats, I think, right? Malingo and his family.
Yes. Thank you for that. You're the Aberrat expert here.
It's fading. I haven't read those in a long time now. I kind of want to go back and reread them, but I don't want to do it until there's at least some news about the impending Aberrat 4.
Right. True. Which is going to be Kree Rising.
Yes. Well, that was the last one we heard. I think there's been a few titles for this one. So I guess but I think that's the most current title we've heard.
Yep. Yeah. So go to Clive Barker Archive. They have so much good stuff there.
Yeah.
They have also the Imaginer book that you can pre-order, the next volume, and all sorts of good stuff, including the play script books.
Oh my gosh, I need to get those. I think
me too.
I'd like to do episodes about those. About an episode about Hunters in the Snow.
Right, me too.
But we have to read it first.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just been busy. I've been working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. So
yeah,
it's gonna. Today is my day off in like 3 weeks or so. So my first day off.
I was wondering if you, since you had this day off, I was wondering if you'd left that old job, but not yet.
Nope, still there. Still at the store.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next up is, let's see. Candyman.
Yeah. So I know before we had talked about Arrow was releasing a 4K, or was it 2K? No, 4K restoration. It's an HD, Blu-ray of Candyman. And so now I think everybody was kind of hoping and expecting this would happen, but Shout Factory is doing the North American release, and from what we've seen, it looks like they have a lot of the same special features that they probably licensed from Arrow.
Right. I assume so, yes. Scream, it seems that Scream does have some new extras of their own that will make this edition worth owning, though. The release date for this is November 20, and the price tag is going to be about $34.93. But, of course, as the release date comes closer, then Amazon will start making those like pre-order price changes, and you probably will be able to get it cheaper than that if you pre-order. So make sure to grab your copy, because I'm sure this thing will go fast.
That might be worth us doing an episode on when it comes out, just because Candyman has been, there's been no decent HD release of that or at all. So finally, this is a big deal. It's like when Lord of Illusions finally got a Blu-ray.
And as usual, if you order from shoutfactory.com, you get an exclusive 18-inch by 24-inch rolled poster featuring brand new artwork, and the second exclusive 18 by 24 rolled poster featuring the alternative new artwork.
Yeah.
Also the exclusive slipcover, if you're into that sort of thing, featuring alternative new artwork limited to the first 2,000 pre-orders. And also it gets shipped 2 weeks early if you order online, so from their website.
It was funny.
There's a lot of...
On our news post, somebody wrote, Frankie Smarra wrote, I hope the press release opens with, "We hear you looking for Candyman, bitch."
That's funny. Yeah. That lineup. Yeah. That lineup is very, very meme worthy.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. We can add this to the show notes. You can go to shotfactory.com/product/Candyman-collectors-edition. And you can see all the stuff that's going to come along with this edition. And a lot of it, like Rob wrote here in the article, is from the Arrow edition. But I think there are some things here that are exclusive to this Shout Factory edition. And so as usual...
I think some people were confused because I think I saw some comments where people thought, "Oh, how come they're only doing a 2K version and not 4K?" And it's, it seemed like they thought that the Arrow version was superior in that way, and it's like, no, it's the same. They're both 4K restorations, but they're regular HD releases.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It says here for the Shot Factory website, says that there's a new 2K restoration from a new 4K scan of the original negative.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess they took the 4K scan of the negative and then they restored it to a 2K positive new restoration. So that's what they did.
And 2K just means HD, right? Like 1080p is 2K.
Here it says 2K resolution is a generic term for display devices or content having horizontal resolution of approximately 2,000 pixels. And it says here that 2K native resolution is 2048 by 1080.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's HD.
Occasionally, 1080p full HD has been included into the 2K resolution definition. Although 1920 by 1080 could be considered as having a horizontal resolution of approximately 2,000 pixels, most media, including web content and books on video production, cinema references, and definitions define 1080p and 2K resolutions as separate definitions and not the same.
So speaking of HD, I guess the Books of Blood TV show, there was a... we have to chalk this up as a rumor, right? There's only one website that reported this. What was it? Dead? What was that website? But that there's a Books of Blood TV series. Bleeding Cool.
Right. Okay, so yeah, this is... I don't know what to make of this, to be honest. So...
They said it had Seth MacFarlane and Brannon Braga of Star Trek.
Okay, so this came out about a week ago, right?
Yeah.
And like 6 days ago. So the site Bleeding Cool announced that Seth MacFarlane and Brannon Braga were working together to bring Clive Barker's short story collection, Books of Blood, as an anthology series for Hulu. And I... honestly, I have no idea if this is true or not.
It would have been a disservice.
It seems so weird.
Yeah, to not. I think it would have been a disservice to not report this, but at the same time, that website had a short little blurb for a story. It had no source at all, and so we have no idea where they got it from. I mean, maybe they got it from Hulu, or from some kind of fandom of Star Trek or Seth MacFarlane or. I think
they would have gotten this maybe from someone working for Clive Barker or something. Someone who's into this whole thing. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think.
Because I think I mean, Phil and Sarah, I don't know if they knew about it either. They didn't report about it first. It was this Bleeding Cool. Mm-hmm. It seems, it's just like the Weave World TV series. It seems like this is...
something that someone threw against the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they say it's for Hulu, at least then, at least it's not like they're shopping it around, but I don't know. I think that there was no quote from anybody in that original story.
Here's my take on this story. First of all, it's poorly written, okay? Yeah. Second of all, because it says here, the opening line is, Seth MacFarlane is the man being Family Guy. And I think they mean the man behind.
Yeah.
And then it says Brennan Braga worked on Star Trek and now works with Seth on the Orville. And they completely forgot to mention that before that, Brennan Braga also did Cosmos, Spacetime Odyssey with Seth MacFarlane, which is a much larger thing to mention. But okay. And it says, and they are now making a Clive Barker horror anthology TV series for Hulu based on Barker's Books of Blood anthology series. Yeah. And then another inaccuracy in this article is that it says, it was these stories published in the 80s that first established him as a leading horror writer. And one short story was adapted as The Candyman. But there are many more to work from. Okay,
I mean,
first
for
of all,
crying out loud.
It's not just one short story that was adapted as The Candyman. We've had The Midnight Meat Train. We had The Book of Blood.
Dread.
Dread. So
Rawhead
the person
Rex.
who wrote this,
yeah,
the person who wrote this was Rich Johnston. And apparently Rich Johnston is supposed to be the chief writer and founder of Bleeding Cool. And he calls himself a comic book clairvoyant and a political cartoonist. Clearly, he's not that much into Clive Barker, because otherwise he would know to make a better article. And
the Yattering and Jack is another one.
Absolutely, the Yattering and Jack for Tales of the Dark Side. I mean, I don't think everybody has to know everything that came out, but The Midnight Meat Train is a big movie. Yeah. Books of Blood was, fairly well known in the Clive Barker community. Yeah. There are definitely more stories adapted than Candyman. So, okay, I'm just nitpicking here.
Well, and Lord of Illusions was adapted from the last Illusion from the Books of Blood. And that was one Clive directed himself. That's hard to miss. Yeah, and this is a 4-sentence, like 2 small paragraphs of something. And honestly, I have no idea where this comes from. Yeah. And like you said, this seems like it might be just a rumor. I don't know where they got this from. There is no source. So until I hear anything else from someone related to Clive Barker's camp, I'm just going to chalk this up as a rumor because this has not come out anywhere else. If you're a Clive Barker fan, you're used to crazy news that gets your hopes up, and then you never hear anything about it again.
Yeah, and I mean,
this could be one of those things.
It's true that now streaming-based companies like Netflix and Hulu and other places are taking a lot of intellectual properties and running with them. Like, now we've had the announcement that, Nightbreed is going to become a TV show for sci-fi, or, that, Hellraiser may be in negotiations for Netflix. That's totally a rumor, by the way. I don't mean to say that that's true. Okay. But if something like that comes up, it seems like they're trying to develop a lot of stuff. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Hulu was trying to develop something with Clive Barker, but it's like, this seems like such a weird outlet for this rumor to come out. It seems like it should have come out in a much larger outlet if this was supposed to be announced. So, and also I was a little frustrated to read this in a website called Bleeding Cool, which is like, I've never heard of this website before. And hey, maybe someone's yelling at the podcast, Bleeding Cool's awesome. Yeah. I go there all the time, but it's like, sorry, I don't know this website.
I don't either.
And it seems like it's poorly written. And I'm frustrated because we've been doing this podcast for 6 years. Yeah. And personally, I was thinking to myself, why is this website that I've never heard about breaking this news? And why are we not being contacted by someone, to promote this? I mean, I know that right now Seraphin has gone through a lot of reorganization, and I don't even know if Seraphin as a company still exists anymore. I don't know who's in charge of it anymore. So I'm just curious to know, who should we talk to now to be able to have access to Clive Barker news? I mean, obviously Phil and Sarah are still doing a good job, but it's not like Phil and Sarah, they have their own outlet for stuff. They have Revelations, the website. They have the Clive Barker archive. That's fine. I don't want to step on their toes. We don't want to try to outscoop them of anything, but it's like, it would be nice if anything like this needs to be promoted, please let us know. We'd love to be able to promote this sort of stuff. So,
right. And what we do is different from what Phil and Sarah do. So, I mean, I don't really see them as competition for us. I mean,
of course not.
They break a lot of news on Facebook and Twitter, and we get a lot of our news from them, and I think that's been a great relationship.
So what did you think of the reaction to this news? We had some comments on our Facebook and So what did you think? I think it was kind of a mixed reaction towards this from the community.
There's a lot of people. A lot of the reaction was about Seth MacFarlane, and it's like, oh, I don't want it to be like, was it 100 Ways to Die in the West, or is that what that was? I forget. I haven't even seen that.
1 Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't comment on that, and I don't really understand. I've never seen the Orville. All I know about him is Family Guy, so I don't think I'm educated enough on him to know that if he could do a good job on it. And honestly, I'd be happy to give it a chance if this was a real rumor. But I think a lot of people are like, not them. And I think just let him. You hear that kind of stuff a lot. Like when Interview with a Vampire was coming out, there was a huge campaign against Tom Cruise being in Interview with a Vampire. And then when it came out, it's like, yeah, he did a good job. It was fine.
Yeah, playing Lestat, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Just like there was a big campaign against, when the Dark Knight, and they were gonna have the Joker be played by, God, I forgot his name all of a sudden.
Oh, was it Heath Ledger?
Heath Ledger, yes. Yeah. Everybody was like, oh, they're gonna put a pretty boy playing the Joker. Oh no, that's gonna be terrible. And then he did a great job, right? He became an iconic character. So
I think for anybody behind the scenes for the pitch for this, maybe it was great. I mean, how do we know, right? I mean, we have to wait and see. And plus, it doesn't mean that Seth MacFarlane is going to be there directing and writing every single episode.
Right. So the Bleeding Cool website had a lot of discussion here, and they had about 453 shares on their website article.
Yeah. And
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the comments to kind of gauge what the community was talking about. Mm-hmm. But one of them here, there's one called Joel Wells 4 days ago. He says, sorry, but when this dodgy-ass page is the only source on something for over 48 hours, the likelihood is that it's absolute BS is more or less through the roof. This isn't an article, just a poorly written statement with nothing to back it up, and somehow the rest of the internet slept on this. Don't get people's hopes up with your BS, dude. And then you have other comments like...
I mean, that's pretty succinct way of kind of hitting our own fears on the head with this.
Yeah. And here's a comment from our very own Rob Ridenauer. Is this for real? Will a more efficient announcement be made to the general public? Yeah, that would have been great. Yeah. And the rest of the comments seem to be kind of mixed. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying, well, Clive Barker's my favorite author, so I should be stoked. But I hate everything I've ever seen from Seth MacFarlane, so I have no idea how to feel. Seems like oil and water here. Yeah. And so I don't know. Another guy says,
and the Family Guy is not my favorite show either, but I don't see how this could be anything like that anyway. And there's not a lot of humor. There's a little bit of humor in some of the Books of Blood stories, but
but that doesn't mean that he's gonna make it funny. I mean, that's
right. That's people have to like take what they know about something about a guy and try to put it on something completely different, and we just don't know. We really don't know what he would do.
Right, and also Brandon Braga, he worked on Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey, and that series got nominated for he won a Peabody Award. He won the Critics' Choice Award. He won the Producers Guild Award. Yeah, he produced that show along with Seth MacFarlane, and he also was a creative force behind 3 of the Star Trek series, which were pretty good, right? I mean, he's also working on the Orville, which is also a great series in terms of visual effects and story. And I like the Orville. I've been watching that on Netflix, so I'm pretty happy with it. So, I mean, if this was true, and I'm not saying it is, then I'd be kind of stoked to see this, even though I don't own Hulu. Maybe that would put me on Hulu be able to see this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we would be negligent, I think, if we didn't watch it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But nowadays, it's like with the rise of, the state of the art in CGI. I mean, come on, this thing would be amazing. Imagine some of these stories with the modern day budget and CGI. They would be amazing. Imagine In the Hills, the Cities, and if they could...
if anybody out there is working on this show and it's real, and you're listening to us, I'd say please take your time on each story. It doesn't have to be one episode, 1 hour per short story. You can stretch it out until it's finished. That's all that's all I want. I just want them to do each one right and take whatever time it needs. Some of them will be short, and some of them will be longer. Like Rawhead Rex is like a 30-some page story. So, that one will take a little longer.
Yeah, they don't even mention what sort of format this would have. I guess that would be too premature for that, but maybe like what, half-an-hour episodes?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly, they don't like this new wave of streaming shows with no commercial breaks. They don't really need to have a set time limit, per episode. Like I've been watching a lot of Netflix original shows, and they're a lot of them are just over when they're done. Some of it's like this one's 43 and that one's 58 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Since they don't rely on the commercial breaks to set, how long they are.
Right.
And time slots.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. For now, nobody else seems to have picked up on this. And there's no confirmation. There's no sources. So I'm going to chalk this one up to a rumor, even though, Rob made an article about it because, like you said, we'd be negligent if we didn't report on this. But at the same time, it's like it's good that we're talking about this on the podcast and giving our own impressions on it. And for me, it's like I'll believe it when I see it. It's one of those rumors that I don't even know if this is going to end up in like the projects that never got made section of Revelations, right? It's like, oh, there was an announcement once that Clive Barker was going to get the Books of Blood on Hulu, but that never happened.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
I noticed that Phil and Sarah didn't really talk about it.
No.
As far maybe I missed it, maybe they did, but I would think, because they mentioned Candyman and they said, here's some, behind the scenes shots that we're putting up on the Clive Barker archive site to celebrate the Candyman release. They didn't say anything about this.
Yeah. And on that note about things being rumors, we have another thing to talk about, right?
Yeah. So, if we've been following this story all along since the beginning, Scarebaby, right, the novel Scarebaby that Clive Barker was working on, at one point along the line he said it's not going to be called Scarebaby anymore, and then something that we heard from people that had former employees of Seraphim was that Clive didn't like the way it turned out, and so this may be indefinitely delayed, whatever. We don't know, or it may never. We don't know if it's coming out. But that original listing on Amazon and it has popped up like it's supposed to be coming out now, right? Like the pre-order time is over or whatever, and now it's available, which is not. There is no book, and but people have been posting it on groups. I can't blame them because people are kind of excited and they're interested in anything that may be coming out from Clive Barker. But for this one, I think it's not true. Yeah. I mean, last time that Clive talked about Scarebaby, like you said, was to say that he's changing the name, and then that was back in the last revelatory interview at Clive Barker Info for a conversation that they had on September 7th, and they mentioned that. There was going to be a new novel previously titled Scarebaby. Yeah. But then we heard from people working over at Seraphim that, they weren't happy with Scarebaby, so they might be on the drawer for a while. And, of course, that was a listing on Amazon. That's how we first found out about Scarebaby, right? When we saw that there's a listing on Amazon for Scarebaby. What the hell? Yeah. And I guess this listing made the rounds again because apparently the launch date was coming up. Yeah. But that was just a dummy launch date anyway, so it wasn't real thing. So it's not true. And the people that were posting this, it was originally on the Clive Barker fans group, and then somebody shared that one to the Clive Barker collecting group, and the listing on Google and on Amazon had a picture of ours paired as like the title. The picture the sketch that Clive drew for me of Joey before he was born. And then I had the little caption, "Oh man," because it's from the news story where we said it's not called Scarebaby anymore.
Right.
So it had a little speech bubble on there. And and I'm like, "Hey, that's our picture. You know, why is that happening?" And then eventually, I think the original poster, you know, either out of embarrassment or not wanting people to get their hopes up or to try to buy something that doesn't exist.
No, it's because they found out it was fake news.
Yeah, so they deleted it. So it got deleted out of both of those groups and it's gone. But I did copy Phil and Sarah's response to it before they got deleted.
Okay.
They said, just a quick post to clear this one up. The various Amazon listings for Scarebaby were premature and are now dated. Clive would hate for people to be parting with hard-earned money on these. The project itself absolutely remains live, but has, like all projects, grown and developed, and Scarebaby was a working title which is no longer appropriate. More from Clive on that when he's ready to share it.
Okay.
So thanks,
and
Phil
of course,
and Sarah,
signed
for that.
P&S.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Amazon page for Scarebaby, and it does say Scarebaby hardcover coming out 9 August 2018, but there is no image available and there's no information.
Okay.
So
yeah, and it's the Google listing that has our image on there.
Right. Yeah. This one doesn't have anything. So Amazon, it's probably just a dummy page that someone created for it, and it's not real. It's not coming out on August 9 of this month, so this year. So that's not happening.
Yep, and you know, we had heard that they weren't happy with it, and don't know the future of Scarebaby. We'll look forward to it. I don't want it to see it go away. I want to see new stuff by Clive.
Of course.
Yeah. So speaking of new stuff, there was a short film that starred Simon Bamford, and this one, I think, was it like a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo project? Because I think so. I think this was crowdfunded, right? Yeah, there were people who had seen it a long time ago, but now it's available on YouTube, so anybody can see it. And it's a 12-minute feature, and it's got Simon Bamford in it, and he plays a really kind of shy and sad person. But it's only 12 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Everybody should check it out. I think Simon does an amazing job. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably make a review for this on the blog. It says, after the loss of his mother, Michael drops everything to escape to the seaside and revel in the only happy memories he had with her. But when a quirky young woman abruptly pushes her way into his life, Michael finds that there may be something worth living for after all. So, and we got this, we got the tip that this was on YouTube from the Simon Bamford fans page on Facebook. So Thank you, Lori. And, well, I'll give it a watch. Yeah, it was great. And, so yeah, and that movie is called Arcade. And again, there's a link in the show notes to the YouTube video. You can watch it. And, you know, let us know what you think. And, you know, if you see Simon on Facebook, tell him what you think. Yeah. Unless you don't like it, you know, don't be mean. But I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I'm going to tell him. So. Yes. That sounds good. Yeah. So, well, coming soon, we're going to be doing the Hellraiser Part 8, the final one where we'll talk about the comics, the Marvel comics, the holiday special. Yeah, and the summer special and the poster book. Mm-hmm. And we have been, we've been working really closely with Ed Martinez to talk about Cenobium and Clive Barker fanzine community from the late 80s, early 90s. Right. Yeah, that's coming up soon. We're trying to figure out a date to make a recording, and then it'll be coming up in an upcoming episode. Yeah. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, and of course we'll have more news episodes. We'll be Galilee will be coming up soon. So yeah, those are things to look forward to. Oh, and feedback. We had a couple of things here. The Matt Lee said Google Alerts is telling me there's a new Clive Barker. Oh yeah, that's the Scarebaby thing. Mm-hmm. Published today, but no sign of it to buy. Barkercast, have I missed something? That was on Twitter. So it was all on Twitter and Facebook. So Matt Lee, thanks for your tweet a while ago about our
Great and Secret Show, I believe, episode. You gave us a lot of good feedback on it. And yeah, like we said in this episode, Scarebaby, apparently it's not happening yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made sure that Ryan made sure to copy Phil and Sarah's response, so that should be pretty obvious that they're still working on it, but I don't know when that's coming out.
Yeah. And then Jordan B had said, I really wish, this was, I think, on the Books of Blood story. He said, I really wish that Clive would release the third book of the art. I also would like to see a sequel to Galilee. And I think this is kind of this is one of those areas where you know, if you're not patient, you're just going to be frustrated and disappointed a lot.
Yeah, it's been a while, though. It has been a while.
Yeah.
So I understand the frustration.
You got to ride the waves, you know.
Yeah.
you can't try to steer or have some kind of expectation of, you know, what Clive's going to release. You know, even Aberrat, right? It's been a long time since, and that was supposed to be, you know, first and foremost.
Right.
But
I think it's just, I don't think he's being demanding about it. He's just really saying that he wished that this would come out. And I understand. I wish too. I wish I could see, even though for me, this whole idea about having to make a trilogy, I mean, I'm happy. I was happy with the Great and Secret Show when it came out and the way it ended. Yeah. I was happy when Everville came out and the way it ended.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see a lot of like loose threads that would prevent me from enjoying the finality of Everville.
Yeah.
So it's just because Clive has this idea that he always talks about making this trilogy or making another book for this. And it's like, sometimes I don't really feel like it's necessary, but if he wants to make one, that's fine.
Well, there are definitely loose ends in the books of the art, but at this, you know, at the same time, they, you know, like all these other books come out. You know, at the time, all these other books were coming out anyway. It's like, well, I guess the third book will be later. I don't know. Right.
I mean, I can't think of a loose thread that has been introduced in Everville that I feel like it's obsessing me over. I mean, not like Aberrat, for example, or
there was something strange
Galilee.
About the Ead. Right, that they had
really?
Like a human in. There was an Ead that had like some kind of a human inside of it.
Okay. Yeah, true. I guess that there is some mystery behind the Ead, but do we really want that mystery to be solved? Sometimes I feel like the monsters are more interesting when they have some sort of mystery at the heart of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like I said, I understand that people get hooked by that idea of the trilogy and they're like, oh, now I want to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I just want to say that personally, I'm fine with the way that the story ended. I was fine with it on the first one. Yeah. So when Clive came out with Everville, I was kind of like, oh, okay. So turns out that, the villain from the Great and Secret Show, the guy in the hut,
Kissoon.
Kissoon. Yeah. Thank you. That's why I'm having coffee. Kissoon. I was surprised at Everville that Kissoon was brought back. It's like, oh, he didn't really die. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense that he's powerful. So he probably could have just escaped the loop or whatever. Yeah. But, I was okay if that would have been the end of Kissoon in the first one. So when he came back, I was interested in knowing more about the origin. But, so I don't know.
On our last
Galilee definitely continues. It's an ongoing story, and we want to know what happens. But for the Great and Secret Show, to be honest, I'm okay if it stops there. I mean,
that was
personal level.
On our last reading of Everville, I thought it was a little disappointing. This is maybe a little bit of a tangent, but it's a little disappointing that there's all these rumors that Fletcher is still alive and teasing that he's still alive, and it turns out, no, it was the bad guy. Like, aw.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of lead us on for a little bit on the story there. Yeah, that's true. You wanted to see, like, hey, if the Jaff is alive, maybe Fletcher's alive. There has to be a counterpoint to it. Yeah. But I guess the counterpoint ended up being, like, just the human factor.
Yeah, and Kissoon is just, vile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So I would like to see a sequel to Galilee. I would like to know what happens, even though the whole story of the way that the story is being presented, like just some guy going up to an attic room and just hallucinating the history of his family, is kind of a strange thing to me. But it's like, hey, it's Clive Barker.
Well, only Clive Barker can get away with stuff like that and make you believe.
Yeah. Right.
You know, when you say it out loud, it does sound crazy.
And then the other bit of feedback we have here is the one you mentioned before, is Frankie Smarra. He said, I hope the press release for Candyman opens with, "We hear you looking for Candyman, bitch."
I think that would be really funny if Shout Factory had done that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That would have been funny. That would have been hilarious. Yeah. Anyway.
They should hire you, Frankie.
Yeah, they should. So thanks for listening to our episode. I hope the news were good enough to dispel some rumors, and this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end.
Find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com, where we have news and links to all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and every other place you can find podcasts. The Clive Barker Podcast is an independent editorial podcast and news blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.